All right, we're going to get started, everybody. Good morning. Happy New Year's. Hopefully, everybody had a fantastic 2019. We're going to get started on a top of goal setting, how to come about those goals, and the business planning you need to do in order to accomplish and obtain those goals. This is not reinventing the wheel. I'm probably not going to tell you anything that you don't already know, but it's always good to kind of get a refresher, a reset, so to speak. These things I've learned over the course of nearly 2.5 decades, either as a high producing salesperson or managing high producing salespeople. And I learned very early on in my career how important having goals were. And I'm not talking about having hopes and dreams and things that you pray for. I'm talking about things that you are going to give it all every single waking minute of every day in order to accomplish. I like to reference back to Napoleon Hill. One of the first books I read in my career back in 1995 was Think and Grow Rich. I was instructed by the owner of the company I worked for to either read that book as well as a few other books, or I could walk, meaning I was fired. And it was the most eye-opening experience that I ever had. And I wish I would have read it in my youth, because it opened my eyes to the possibility of the things that I believed in I could achieve, but I needed to believe first and foremost, meaning that I had to see myself as having already accomplished those goals in order to obtain those goals. It might sound strange, but you actually have to go through a process of brainwashing yourself into believing that you can accomplish anything it is that you want to believe in. If you do not believe to your very core that you can be successful as you define success, you likely won't get there. So we're going to go through some of these things really quick. And then I'm going to probably turn it over in a little bit to James, that he's going to go over some of the actual structure components to building out your plan for success and for obtaining your goals. We got 51 weeks left in this year. It's going to be over before you know it. This is not something you get to put off till tomorrow. If you do, you will likely not hit your goals. The first thing that I would challenge you to do, not necessarily at this moment, but maybe after we get off the call, is for those of you that did not accomplish your goals in 2019, write down why. Make a list of all the reasons why you did not accomplish your goals. And I will let you know that you've just written down the 10 excuses as to why you didn't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. And they are excuses and nothing but excuses. And I don't want those of you that aspire to do greater things to go through the same thing year after year, because in order to accomplish your goals, all you have to do is have a clearly defined goals and then make it a focus, like I said, every minute of every waking day to accomplish those things that you desire to accomplish. I always like to start out, and for those of you that work with me, you've heard me say this numerous times before, is before we get into the goal setting is some very basic things that you have to pay attention to. I like to always say is your bathroom clean? That might sound like a funny thing to say when we're talking about setting goals, but I believe wholeheartedly, and if we had time to do a scientific study for those of you that are on this call, those of you that have messy bathrooms probably aren't where you want to be in your life, because your bathroom typically is a reflection of your life. Not only just your business life, but your personal life. Is your right now at this moment, especially for those of you that are working at home, if you look back and look into your bathroom, would you like your mother to walk into that bathroom right now? Would she be proud of you to see the condition of your bathroom as it stands right now? Would your clients, would you want your clients to use your restroom as it stands right now? Is your bed made? The reason why I bring these things up is because, like I stated, it's largely a reflection of not only the condition of your home and your bathroom and your bedroom, but also a reflection of what's going on in the rest of your life. Think about that. And I'm not going to get into the discussion about that at this moment. Maybe if we get some extra time, somebody could actually give me some feedback to prove my theory correct. But I've known this not only from the condition of people's bathrooms, of people that I've known through my career, but also like your car. Have you ever got into somebody's car and it's got some funky stank to it? Now, if you look at that person's car and you realize that it smells funny and not too sure what's sitting underneath the seats, it's usually, if you look at the entirety of their life, it generally mirrors what's going on in the rest of their life. And some people will make the excuse that they don't have time or they have children, so it's very hard to clean up after your children. No, it's just simply excuses. And again, and I would say that if your car's in that condition, your bathroom's in that condition, if your bed's not made every day, you will not likely be where you want to be at this moment in time in your life. Answer those questions. You can make note of that. And why it's so important to do these things, to make your bed and clean your bathroom, is creating discipline. The next thing I would say that's also critically important is, have you exercised today? Are you eating right? Because even if you accomplish your financial goals, which we're largely going to be talking about today, what good does it do if you're completely unhealthy? What good does it do you? Now, I know there's a lot of tremendously successful people that are completely out of whack physically. And you might say, well, they're successful and they eat terrible and never exercise. So what are you talking about, Aaron? But if they keel over from a heart attack or stroke at the age of 60, I promise you, they didn't reach their success that they were hoping to obtain in their life. I promise you that. So again, just like making your bed every day to making sure that your body's physically fit, depending on what your aspirations are in life, and I'm talking about financially, being physically fit is going to help you accomplish those things. It's going to give you more energy, which probably first and foremost is the most important thing, is giving you more energy to get through your goals and get through the challenges that this business throws at us on a daily basis. But it will actually allow us to work longer and harder to achieve greater success, because we have our bodies that will be able to propel us to that. So I would tell you, first and foremost, in 2020, if you're not doing those things, making your bed, cleaning your bed or your bathroom, eating a healthy diet, and exercising on a daily basis, you're going to have a hard time reaching your goals in life. Now, you may have minor accomplishments along the way, but eventually these things are going to catch up with you. I promise you that. Take note from people that are far, far more successful than I am, and you will find that overwhelmingly they have their shit together in all aspects of your life. You are not going to be successful in one if you're not successful in others. It doesn't work that way. They're going to they're interwoven, and they'll eventually show weaknesses in your whole plan if you don't have it all put together, so to speak. All right. So now that we covered your bathroom being clean, your bed being made, and your car being clean, also very, very important, is determining what your goals are. What I would do is start short term, like 2020. What is your short-term goal in 2020? It's very challenging. You can set long-term goals, like what I want to accomplish in 10 years, when I hope to retire, so on and so forth, which is not a bad idea. But we should take baby steps to begin with and figure out what we want to accomplish financially in 2020. And most of the time, people come up with a monetary number, which is absolutely okay. For most people that are entering into sales or the mortgage industry, typically when I ask them what would they like to earn annually, almost always I hear somebody at entry level tell me 100,000. I mean, I've heard more times than not. It's always 100,000. Why is it 100,000? Because it sounds good. For people that are entering in the business, 100,000 sounds good. For those that have been in the business for some time, they usually aspire to make $250,000 a year. For some reason, it's always those type of increments. Very rarely do you hear people say $1 million a year, even though for those of you that are in the mortgage industry, $1 million a year is very, very obtainable to make as an originator or branch manager in this industry. The reason why more people don't obtain it has a lot to do with what we're talking about today. messy bathrooms. All right. So once you determine what that number is, you have to ask yourself why. And I think that's one of the leading problems that people have in not accomplishing their goals. It's because that number doesn't mean anything to them. It sounds good, it looks good, but why do they want to make that much money? Whatever the dollar amount is. Why do you want to make 100,000? Why do you want to make $250,000? Why do you want to make $1 million a year? In most people's situations, there's no rhyme and reason. You can try this with your staff. If you're a branch manager, you just ask them, what is your financial goals? Hopefully you've already done that, because a part of you being more successful as a branch manager in your personal financial goals, you have to make sure that your team's going to hit their goals so you can hit your goals. But ask them, why do you want to make 100,000? Why do you want to make $250,000? And I would say most people will not know an answer for that. They will not. They'll have no idea why they want to make that dollar amount. And there's got to be a reason why for you to have the desire to hit those goals. There has to be a reason. Again, back to Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, he defines it as a burning desire. And a burning desire is something that is so great that nothing is going to get in your way. Nothing is going to prevent you from obtaining that goal. It is the first thing you think about when you roll out of bed, is that desire to hit that goal for a particular reason. And if it's just sheerly monetary, some random number that somebody's come up in their head, they're not going to get it. That's typically not enough to create the burning desire. Now, for people, it can be wildly different reasons. Some people want to make X amount of money so they can provide for their family. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But that's a very general situation. Does $250,000 a year provide for your family? Maybe, but have you mapped that out? Have you put any mathematics to that? Does it accomplish all the things you want to do, sending your children to the best schools, having the house that you want your family to grow up in, providing the automobiles, whatever it is, food on their table? Does it actually break down? Does the math break down to accomplish those things? And is that enough for you? Does that really motivate you? Of course, it sounds like my family is the most important thing to me, is most people's response. Of course, that will motivate you. But does it? When you wake up in the morning, every morning, when you wake up out of bed, do you say, I need to go earn right now for my family, and that's first and foremost on my mind, and that's why you go out to accomplish your goals? My guess is no. But each person has a different goal, and each person has a different reason for those goals. The point being is that that goal is not clearly defined. And again, separate goals from wishes, hopes, and dreams. Wishes, hopes, and dreams are just that. Wishes, hopes, and dreams. You can sit on the beach and dream all day, and it's not going to get you anywhere closer to your goals. That is radically different than a burning desire to be successful. Radically different. I know a ton of poor dreamers, tons of them. Follow me? A goal is something that you're willing to sacrifice for. Are you 1 week into this year, are you on your pathway to your goal? And for those of you that are football fans, how many of you will squander hours and hours and hours this weekend when you're nowhere close to your goals? How many? Again, an excuse. Now, for some of you that are on your pathway to success, if you're on your pathway to success and you use Sunday football to recharge and rest and relax, not really relaxing watching football, I can tell you that. I'm a Seahawks fan. Very stressful thing. Not something I'm going to use to recharge my batteries. But also, I very rarely have the time to squander away 3, 6, 9 hours on a weekend doing nothing that's going to get me better or get me closer to my life's goals. Does that make sense? It's a sacrifice. That goal that you put out there, what are you willing to sacrifice to hit those goals? If you're in the mortgage business and you want to acquire $50,000 a year, that's like walking through the park. You could actually spend most of your time daydreaming on a beach and make $50,000 a year in the mortgage industry. And there's nothing wrong with that, assuming that that's your burning desire. But those of you that entered this business typically wanted to get into this business to accomplish big financial things because it's a hugely rewarding business for those that work extremely hard and are willing to sacrifice. You have the ability to make more money than most heart surgeons, brain surgeons, even professional athletes. So why would you squander this opportunity to basically make as much money as you possibly needed to either retire extremely wealthy or retire extremely early? Why would you do that? You wouldn't, but most of you do, which is why 10% in this industry make nearly all the money. And that basically translates to the rest of the society. The people that are at the top didn't get there because of hoping, wishing, and dreaming. They had clearly defined goals and went after them and sacrificed a great deal. So are you willing to sacrifice for these goals? If you want to make $1 million a year as an originator, you're not going to spend a bunch of time watching football. I promise you, you will not have the time to do that. Is football more important than $1 million a year? Then don't make $1 million a year a goal. Be very, very honest with yourself when you go through this process. Because those that want to get tremendously successful in this business or any other business, you're going to sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice. What's more important to you? And some people say, well, I want that work-life balance. No problem. I'm not judgmental on that either. I've sacrificed a tremendous thing with family and what most people call life. Yes, what is life? I don't want to sacrifice life. What, watching football and drinking beer? Is that what you don't want to sacrifice? I'm willing to sacrifice that. Even if it takes time away from friends and family, I'm willing to sacrifice that, because if I get to accomplish the goals that I aspire to accomplish, I'll be able to provide for friends and family better than I ever could if I was just sitting in the living room watching football and drinking beer. I'm not judging you. I'm just pointing out some examples. Are you going to sacrifice for these goals? Ever since I was a young child, I had the aspirations to own an exotic Italian sports car. Told the story 1,000 times. Literally, that's all I wanted. My room was full of posters, not of hot chicks, but of Italian sports cars. I was fascinated with them. Not because they were expensive, just because they look extremely cool and I love speed. I love going fast. Even as a kid, before I went fast, I knew I wanted to go fast. Unfortunately, I didn't know how to take that dream of owning those cars and make it a reality. It wasn't for years later when I finally came across people that taught me how to goal set and taught me how to put numbers behind these dreams and wishes. And then after reading Think and Grow Rich, having the abundance mentality of realizing that it's not those people that had those things, it's everybody that worked hard enough to accomplish those things could have those things. Everybody can be tremendously successful and wealthy if that's part of your definition of success, which for me it is, and for much of our society is. And then I heard on the radio some news program, this was more than a decade ago, that the average person that owned a Lamborghini had a net worth of $5 million or made $1 million a year. And I had my number. I had my number. Now I knew what it would take on average for me to be able to have that car. And I put a pencil to a paper and I wrote out my plan based on that goal. Yes, I was motivated by a car. What kept me motivated is everywhere I had continue to have, even into my adult life, pictures of Lamborghinis and Ferraris on my screensaver and throughout my household as a constant reminder of what I needed to accomplish in order to attain that goal. So part of your goal setting is, once you determine what these goals are, you need a constant reminder. And it's nice to have other people in your family or in your life that keep you accountable for those. Don't count on friends too much. If you have an aspiration to make $1 million a year, most of your friends probably don't make $1 million a year, and they'll not likely try to help you stay accountable to those goals as you're willing to sacrifice time with them. Make sense? But family, maybe your spouse, maybe coworkers, your manager, depending on your situation, find somebody that will help you stay accountable. But most importantly is making sure that you brainwash yourself to believe that is something that you're going to achieve, and then need constant reminders for that. So again, back to, these are some really simple, basic things that help me get to the success that I've gotten today, and that help me get closer to where I want to actually get to. Find out what your financial goal is for the year. Find out, figure it out. Take that financial goal for the year, divide it by 52 weeks, figure out how many hours a week you're going to actually work. Now, this is a really, really important number, because I know a lot of people that say they work 40, 50 hours. People that work with me and for me tell me that they work hard for 40 hours. And I call bullshit on most of it. Okay? I really do. And another thing that I would challenge you with, if you want to see if I'm calling you out in particular on this particular subject, is throughout the day, today or tomorrow, keep a schedule of everything you do every waking moment of the day. And you'll find how much time you're likely squandering on a daily basis. So your 40, 50 hours that you think you're working because you're in front of a computer or on the phone probably equates to closer to 20 to 30 hours a week. Nothing. And again, if you're trying to obtain $1 million a year, don't think you're going to pull that off in 40 hours, or you're far greater than I. And far greater than most people that make $1 million a year. Because you're probably looking at working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I don't want to work that much. Life work balance. Fine, drive a Honda. Your decision. It's not my decision. It's not for me to tell you what your goals should be. I just want you to be real with whatever goals that you want to attain. So now you take your financial goal, divide it by 52 weeks, divide it by the amount of hours that you're willing to actually work in a given week. And now you know what your worth is on an hourly basis. You guys follow that? Very simple math. Annual goal divided by 52 weeks, divided amount of hours that you're going to work in your week. Now you know what you need to make per hour that you're actually working. Here's the accountability part of it. Now that you have that number, write it down on a Post-it note. Don't write it on one Post-it note, write it on a dozen Post-it notes. And put it on your computer, put it on your nightstand, put it on your makeup mirror, put it in your car, give it to your spouse, give it to one of your employees, coworkers. And every hour, make sure that it's within sight. Hell, tattoo that on your arm. And every hour, make sure that that number's in sight so you can reflect back on the last 60 minutes. Did you do what it would take to make that much money in the last hour? And now you'll really come to the realization of how far away you likely are from your goal. It can be rather depressing, but it can also be very motivating. Because as you look at that and realize how limited of time you have, like I said, we only have 51 weeks left in this month or this year. 51 weeks left in this year. That is nothing. It is going to be Christmas time before we know it. It doesn't take much before you're way behind and you're never going to accomplish those goals. So do that. And if you're not doing that right now, then you are going to have a hard time getting to your goal, because getting to big goals is not an easy process. It takes a tremendous amount of work and sacrifice. And it's hard for even the best of us, the most disciplined people that have that burning desire every single day to accomplish that goal. It is extremely hard to get there, especially in the mortgage business. All the rejection, the BS that we deal with, the declines, the conditions, the pain in the ass realtors, everything that's going on, all the static and noise and hate that you deal with on a daily basis. It's very easy to just put your head down and take a breather from it. But if you look up as you're getting disgruntled because you just had your teeth kicked in, and you look up at that number and you're like, damn, I need to get back in this game so I can accomplish those goals. Use those notes as accountability purposes. I cannot tell you how valuable that will be. And while some of you might think it's elementary, and for those of you that are exceeding your goals every single year, then you may not have to do this. You may be able to skip this step or move on to other ways of reminding yourself. Now, I will also tell you one of the biggest problems that us that have a burning desire to accomplish their goals are going to run into is hitting those goals. Hitting those goals. I, like many of you, when you got into this business, the first thing that I needed to do, but I needed to do it. It wasn't a question of wanting to do it, is I needed to do it. I need to make $100,000 a year, which I accomplished in about 6 months. Now what? Think that was going to be good enough? For most people that, again, want to be successful, it is not going to be good enough. In fact, it is never going to be good enough. What are you going to do this year if you hit your goal in 2020? Do the same thing in 2021? How boring. And again, what a tremendous waste for anybody in any profession to just be mediocre, to not strive to be great at whatever it is that you do, to be the best, the very best at what you do. So for many of us that have the accountability, set up the goal and the planning and obtaining those goals, and then once we start to meet and exceed those goals, hopefully in the timeline that we've set for ourselves, then we need a different goal. We move that goalpost. We move the goalpost. So we have a reason, a drive in life to get up and take over the world. Not literally. But all we're doing is playing this giant game of winning and losing. Every day I'm not going to work. Every day I'm going out to the field. Every day I'm going out to the field of combat or like a field of football to win and dominate and then go home at the end of the day. And the next day I get up, gear up, and do it again. And it's not a grind. It's a drive. It's a passion. Why? Because at the end of the day, accomplishing your goals is tremendously satisfying. And if you have big, big goals and aspirations and do this right and do it by being a good human, you can bring so many people up with you. So it's not just all about you. It can become about an entire team, an entire tribe. And how big you want that to be is completely up to you and your goals and your aspirations. But you have to hit the first ones if you think you're going to be able to bring anybody along with you. Today, on my screensavers, I have screensavers of jets. I'm big into aviation. I've moved my goalpost far past nice sports cars into aviation. And I promise you, I will be working my ass off to obtain those goals because they're much bigger goals. You guys may not have any aspirations to fly fast planes. That's okay. There's not a problem with that. The goal is not how much money you need to make and whether you're good or bad if you make $100,000 or $1 million. The goal is to hit your goals, whatever they may be, and to make sure that the goals that you want to hit, you know that you can do them. You know that you can do them. What you believe you can achieve. That is a critical thing in your head if you want to accomplish your goals. Critical. You have to believe. When I was 20 years old, I could not make my goal to make $1 million a year because I didn't believe it. It seemed so far out of reach that I thought there was no way in hell I would ever accomplish that, which was somewhat unfortunate. I wish somebody would have told me when I was 20 years old that if you want to make $1 million a year, Aaron, absolutely you can. If you wanted to play professional football, Aaron, you absolutely could do that. And unfortunately, people, and I did at one point in time, want to play professional football. I've only played a year of football my entire life, and I was terrible at it. But if somebody would have told me very early on, Aaron, if you want to go to the NFL, you absolutely could have done that. And if they would have instilled that in my head, I promise you, I would have been in the NFL. Not because I'm a great athlete. It's because I would have had the drive to do it. And I know that the reason why I've accomplished everything I have accomplished in my life is because I've outworked other people that had the same goal, and I just outworked them. I had a greater drive than they have. I had a greater burning desire than they did. And that's why I did it and they didn't. But that's the only thing that separated me from them. Many of those people that I've competed with all my life are much, much smarter than I am. They may have a higher IQ, might be more innovative. They might have all kinds of skill sets that I've never had. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I don't have a PhD, yet I can outwork most people that did, and I've been more successful than most people that have accomplished those things. I outwork them. And I believe that if I want to accomplish something, I will absolutely accomplish it. I can't tell you how important that is. It's all in your mind. But make sure that those goals that you put down for 2020 are goals that you can actually obtain in 12 months. If you're struggling at doing 2 deals a month in the mortgage business and you say you want to make $1 million in 2020, not to say you can't do that. I'd never tell you that. That is a tremendously challenging thing to do. So the next thing, and I'm going to hand this over to James Polinarli in just 1 minute, is once you do these basic things, and I tell you that how hugely important they are. Know your goal and know the reason why. The reason why for that goal is hugely important. Maybe even more important than the goal itself. Are you going to be able to create the fire, the burning desire in order to hit that goal? And if you don't have a strong enough reason why for that goal, you won't. The other thing, like I said, clean your bathroom, exercise, lead a healthy life, or you're never going to accomplish those goals. And if you accomplish those goals, you're not going to live long enough to benefit in that. Not good. Do these things. And then, like I said, I'm handing this over to James, is make sure that the planning that you put in place to obtain these goals is in line with your goals. Because it's no good to have a goal if you don't have a plan that will actually help you obtain that goal.
So Aaron, I have a question on that. You talk about being the realistic, and you talk about, hey, I want to make $1 million a year. If someone's starting at $80,000 a year, they're definitely not going to hit $1 million the next year unless something crazy occurs. So how do you recommend that people estimate year over year where they should be placing their next level of goal? Are you calculating?
That's a challenging one because it's gonna differ wildly for each individual, and it has nothing to do with your current circumstance, and it surely doesn't have anything to do with your markets or even the condition of the market. Okay, so back to those reasons why you didn't hit the goal. If you put the list of the reasons, well, my market's really competitive, or it's really challenging, or there's not a lot of homeowners, whatever the reason is, those are excuses for your particular situation. You can always change those situations. If you don't have enough people in your market, or your market is really challenging, move. Pick up your shit and move to a market that's better, because if you choose not to do that, then you've made a decision not to be successful. You made a decision not to overcome those hurdles or your reasons for not being able to obtain your goals in 2019. How do I define what I'm going to do the next year? Well, I tell you what, it typically picks up pace, but you're going to have to make a determination. Probably, James, this is going to be more in your court ultimately, is once you determine what your financial goal is going to be, and say you're in the mortgage business, which I believe most of you are, you're going to be able to very easily, based on compensation plans and average loan amounts, determine how many loans you're going to have to generate in order to accomplish those goals. Okay, it's very easy math to do. You should be able to do that math very, very quickly. And then you have to have a realistic approach of how I'm going to increase my business to get that goal. Now, if your goal is to double your income in 2020, that means you're going to have to double the amount of units that you're doing as an individual loan officer. And the dynamics for a branch manager get a little bit more complex. But the idea stays the same. To double, can you double? Now, if you think you're gonna double based on you think that it's gonna be extremely good interest rate environment, there's gonna be more refinances in 2020. That's a very dangerous thing because you're basing your success on a market condition and external condition. I would never do that. I would base it solely on, okay, I know that I didn't work nearly as hard as I think I'm working in 2019. And if I put in twice the amount of energy, which I could, because I'm really only working 20 hours a week and I can easily work 40 hours a week, then I can double my production. That's realistic. But you have to come to terms with what you're actually doing and what you're actually going to be able to do. Again, the simple math on it is you work twice as hard, you can double your income, right? That should just happen. But ultimately, that's not scalable and sustainable. So ultimately, that's gonna fail you, and you're gonna have to figure out because you're better at your trade. So I can work twice as hard. For most of you, that's probably yes. Most people that I know in the mortgage business have enough time in their day to work twice as hard. I promise you, the vast majority of people in this industry could easily work twice as much as they do now and still watch football on Sundays. Okay. So you can double your production just by working your ass off every single day, and you'll double your production in 2020, regardless of what happens with the market. The next step is that if that's not enough for you, or maybe you are one of those people that are working your ass off right now, and you just simply run out of hours in a day, and you're not watching football on Sundays, you're going to the open houses, you're meeting and greeting realtors and doing whatever else you need to be doing on Saturday or Sunday, is you can become better at your trade. How much time are you spending on a daily basis improving your skill set? Most of you, zero. Not doing a goddamn thing to make yourself better at your trade, even though you have the ability to make millions of dollars in this industry. You do nothing to improve your skill set. Unlike the doctors that spend endless hours every single year going through advanced training. Most loan officers don't do anything. Again, another squandered opportunity. Okay. If you knew your guidelines, if you knew your loan products, if you knew this, that, and the other thing so much better, you wouldn't have to wait on other people to get answers in this, that, and the other thing. You'd know where to get them, or you know the answer, and you'd improve your efficiency. Get better at your trade. That's one of the best ways to get better and make more money and to scale your business. Why do you think Michael Jordan was so good? Because he out-trained everybody. He improved his skill set every single day. Coming before practice and staying after practice. There's countless people that have been leaders in exercise or in business that just simply spend more time becoming better at their trade. How many of you are doing that? Daily. My guess is none, or very few. So you have to reflect back in and of yourself to figure out what you're actually willing to do in order to hit the goals that James is talking about. How do you double your business? In 2020, my goal is to double our business. My goal is double. That is 100% increase. That is an amazing goal. And I'm going to do everything I can. And I work my ass off every single day and have for 30 years. And I am going to work harder and harder and harder. Like I always say, people, and I certainly didn't coin this phrase, when it's hard, work harder. When it gets easy, work even harder, because then you can capitalize on all the income and the potential of success. James, have at it.
Yep. Agree 100%. And I mean, like you said, you need a plan. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. I actually need a volunteer that's willing to share what their revenue goal is for 2020, their income goal. Who wants to jump in? There's a brave soul out there who wants to be a victim. Lisa, do you want to unmute and talk?
100,000.
Is that how you pronounce your name, Lisa? 100,000? All right, hang on. Let's go. Let's do this.
Hi.
So, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So where, do you mind sharing where you ended at in 2019?
Well, to be honest with you, so I've been in the business for over 20 years in the operations side. I just got my license in 2019, closed my first loan in December.
Very good. Congratulations. Welcome to the madness.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so that's an awesome, starting goal for your very first year. What I've built for the industry is a goal calculator that really kind of helps you determine how you're going to reach that number. And I always like to work in income, not how many units closed or your volume, because your income is more personal to you. So that's the number that like Aaron said, you should be taping on your window, on your mirrors and on your computer, your car dashboard, everywhere that you can see it, because that's personal to you. So you want to determine, to make that amount of money, you need to know how many leads you need coming in, how many lead sources you need coming in. It's not just about the number of leads, it's how many sources are gonna get you to that number. And then how much money do you need to invest in? Because not all leads are free, we know this. Majority of them are not. You've got to do some kind of investment. And this helps you know exactly how much you should be spending. And then it will tell you how to evaluate your marketing, because if you're not getting the number of leads that this formula tells you you need to hit your goal, then the money you're spending is not working for you. So you need to reevaluate where that money's being invested, because it's not getting you the number of leads that are required. So you don't have a history. So we're going to make kind of an estimation. What market are you in?
California.
Okay, so your average price is going to be a little higher. What part of California? Northern and southern?
Southern.
Southern. So 300K about. Is that fair?
Yep, I'd say that's about right.
Okay, so then you want to plug in your average commission per sale. Our loan officers are at 2.5 for direct lending. That's a little higher than most of the industry. What are you at?
Most of ours, I would say, is at 2%, 2.25.
So you're at 200 bips?
Yeah, put about two. I would say about 200.
Okay. Very good. So that's going to give you your average gross revenue per sale. If you have an LOA that you're splitting with, anything of the sort, then that's where you would put this in here and calculate your percentage. Some of them are on a percentage that they're splitting, but most people are going to be at 100%. Is that accurate for you?
Yes.
Okay. So then you're staying up to 600 for your net revenue on each deal average. So that should have calculated there.
You have 200%, James.
What's that? Oh, that's why.
Oh.
That's why. Thank you.
I mean, I'll take it.
Right. So you're looking at 17 deals in 2020 in order to hit your goal. And the monthly number of closed deals required to achieve your income goal is 1.39 deals a month. That's pretty doable. So, 1.5, 2 deals a month is where you're sitting. You should shoot for 2 so that you can hit that goal. Your conversion ratio, this is based on actual real opportunities, not, blind internet leads coming in that you have to filter through. That may be one of your sources, but these are real opportunities. So you've got someone that filled out a form and they're actually looking for a home. Those are your real ones. And how much are you going to convert at that? 10% is pretty conservative. You should be in the more 30 to 40%, but if you want to, this is your first year, be honest with yourself where you're at. If you're not good at conversions, then shoot it low so that you can bring in the number of leads that you need in order to convert. So if you have strong confidence in your conversion skills, your number of leads is going to change. That's going to go down to 42 if you're at a 40%. So be fair with yourself, be honest. So let's say you need 167 in your first year to nail that goal. And that's going to be, that's only 3 leads a week that you need to bring in. Now it's not so daunting. So now you're down, okay, I just need 3 opportunities a week, closing these out, getting those converted. So that means you need, this is going to round up, you want to round that up. So you need at least 2 lead sources or relationships to hit that goal. That's really low. So you're going to want to go, go a little bit higher so that you've got a little margin for error and those sources that don't bring you anything, especially in your first few years, because you're going to be stumbling through the dark, figuring out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You may find that you don't want to deal with real estate agents. You may find that you hate the leads game. So you're going to, your first few years, going to be kind of figuring out, hey, where do I sit? What do I like? What works for me? So that kind of gives you that element. So these avenues of relationships, lead sources, those can be advertising in magazines, newspapers, Facebook advertising, Google clicks, relationships outside of real estate agents like financial planners. Maybe you have a niche that you're going to pick, such as divorce lending or Homes for Heroes, VA. Determine what those avenues are going to be. Once you have those avenues, then you need to determine how much you're going to invest in those. So you should be year over year investing 10% of every dollar you make back into your business. That is a standard Business 101 formula for reinvestment into marketing, 10% minimum. Now you are probably not going to be there right out the bat unless you've planned for this and have a treasure trove of cash that you put aside for marketing. So your first year, you want to build up to that 10%. Maybe you're taking 2% from your commission checks when you first start closing deals to drop that in. Maybe you're going to be ambitious and do it all. But you can build up to this 10%. Once you get there, don't ever go below that again. You should be reinvesting 10% back into your business every commission. So that gives you $833 a month. Once you get to that level, that you're investing into those lead sources, whether that's pay-per-click or advertising in a magazine, a local magazine, newspaper, whatever it is that you determine you want to do, that's the money you're making. So every quarter, you want to evaluate all your marketing activities. You're going to look at, okay, I've got a Google AdWords running, I got a Facebook ads running, I'm doing co-branding on a magazine ad with an agent, and I'm at $900. I went a little bit over my budget, but I'm comfortable with this. So every quarter you want to look at and say, is that bringing me 167 leads in this year? Is it bringing me 12 to 15 a month? If not, then that money's not working for you. So you need to put it to work somewhere else and determine, but at least give it 3 months, especially if you're doing something like direct mail with postcards or door hangers, anything of that sort. It takes time for that to be effective. And then you want to determine if you've got any other overhead. Most of us don't have a lot in this industry, especially if you work from home. But you want to figure some things out like gas if you're out and about a lot, or office supplies, anything that you do on a regular basis that's outside of marketing. So maybe you're spending $1,000 a year on miscellaneous crap. And that's going to give you your pre-tax income after you've spent money on marketing, $833 a month, $1,000 a year on expenses. You don't have a split with anybody. You're at 89 grand. And that's pretty solid for your first year. Do you have any questions on this?
No, it's awesome, and it's kind of right about where I figured. And like you said, I think it was really important for me. I do know the business, so starting without, I of course, I've wanted a Lamborghini all my life too, but I don't you know, if I got it in my first year, that'd be pretty amazing.
Right.
But I did, in doing my business planning, I err on the side of caution with a little bit lower percentages, numbers, etc. Because I know that there are things like that I don't know very well, like the marketing side that I'm, you know, still learning.
Yep.
So yeah, that's about, I'm spending about $500 a month right now on advertising.
Good. So now you know where you need to land, and then that number's going to keep rising. Just make sure that it's 10% from that point forward. And then this number is good to focus on, but I really love focusing on this number so that you know where you're sitting throughout the year. You know how you're progressing towards your goal. If you're 6 months in and you've only closed 7 deals, you're a little behind. So you know you need to ramp it up. You know, and your first quarter is typically your slowest quarter of the year. So you want to kind of estimate where you're going to be on everything. But if you maybe have a whiteboard and just keep crossing out the number and putting the next number underneath it every time you close a deal, that's going to motivate you. So you know that number keeps getting smaller. I've only got 5 more deals to close and I hit my goal for the year. And then you also want to watch your average price and make sure that this is all still in line. So I would revisit this often. If anybody on this call wants this worksheet, then we'll send this out to everybody. Throw a message in the chat. We'll get that out to you guys. This is this workbook is an entire 6-week training that I do for planning out your year. That includes a marketing plan with all of your budget, everything figured out on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, as well as your social media calendar so that you can plan theme weeks and have all your topics, and then how do you cycle your content on all your pages. If that's something that you guys want to do as members of the Loan Network, then that is a training that I would be willing to do for you guys. I'm going to throw it up in the Loan group. You do have to be a member in the group to get that training. Just let me know. Throw it up in the chat here. Make sure you go find Loan Officers of America Network on Facebook. Join the group, and we'll put the training up in there.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
All right, 2 more things, and I'll wrap it up and let you guys go. Is and this is to Lisa, but it can pertain to anybody else. One of the things that I really wish I would have done early on in my career in this industry is really charted out the return on my time. So not only on the marketing dollars, which is critically important if you're spending $500 a month, is you want to make sure that you're keeping track of the return that you're getting on that money. And being that you're a month in the business, you might not have any return on that, but keep an eye on that. Keep that charted out, because you're going to find that if you spend $500 and it returns, 1 transaction, and you can correlate that directly to that $500 spent, then I would start spending more money, because usually if it works at one level, it's going to continue to work in something that you can scale. But that goes for anything that you do, from making phone calls to real estate agents, knocking on doors, putting out flyers, talking to people in restaurants and supermarkets. Keep track of your daily activities, which isn't hard. You just need a piece of paper and just, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I got X returns. And if you can map this out, especially early on in your career, you can really fine tune your time and the efficiency of the time and what you do. Most loan officers, or even branch managers that are seasoned in this business, they just keep doing things that they've done, knowing that it's going to give them X return, but they don't have any science or math behind what it is that they're doing. And they could be doing something, they could be spending 25, 30% of their time on a task that has 0 return, but they don't have any idea because they're not charting it. They're not mapping it. They're not putting any numbers to that. And one of the things that makes this business really, really easy is once you know the numbers, that's all it comes down to is numbers. It doesn't come down to waking up in the morning and trying to chase your next deal. It's about waking up in the morning and contacting 10 people. Because if I contact through a variety of different methods, 10 people, I'm going to get X return. And if you know those numbers, then it becomes very easy to start scaling those numbers and turning 1 deal a month into 10 deals a month. Again, try to break this down into numbers, which takes a little bit of time for those of you that haven't been doing this. But once you do this, then it, like James says, it's not daunting anymore. Doing 10 deals a month isn't daunting. And 10 deals a month, while it's a big number for most, I think the average loan count for an originator in the United States sits right about 2. That's the median, like 2 deals a month, that's it, which means you have a tremendous amount of time. But hone those skills, get good with your numbers, and your business will go much, much better than it is probably today. The other thing that I'll tell you for individual loan officers, again, when you go through the formula that James just laid out for you, it's very easy to figure, okay, I want to make $100,000 a year. This is how many units I have to close per month based on my average loan amount and my compensation plan that I have. Very simple math to use that will hold true to most individual loan officers. For those of you that are branch managers, be cautious to make your goals around volume and units. Why I say that, and make it more about net income, because when you run a branch, what I have found over the course of my entire career is that as the branch gets bigger, it gets less profitable per transaction. So doubling the volume of the branch will not likely double the income. It will actually, you'll actually see, I mean, you should see an increase in income, but it won't be double, it won't go hand in hand. Because as the branch grows, the efficiencies of that branch will likely go down. Branch managers will hire more and more people that they won't be able to give the personal attention to. You see, I know this through just recruiting branches through coast to coast, is that the bigger the branch volume, the least profitable that they are. And that mostly has to do with them hiring, the bottom 80% of their loan officers are not well seasoned, not well trained, not professional salespeople, and tend to concession loans at a high rate, which drives profitability down, and in some cases into the red. So be careful of that, branch managers. For those of you that aspire to be branch managers, simply doubling your income is not going to come from just doubling your production. It won't work that way. At least I have not seen that yet in over hundreds of branches that I've engaged with. Loan officers, very simple math. Branch managers, a bit more challenging. With that, does anybody have any questions or concerns? Anybody? All right, well, I'll let you guys go. You got 51 weeks left. Write down your goals. Do I own a Lambo? I actually sold it last year. I actually finally accomplished my goal and bought a Lamborghini. I realized after a few days of ownership that it wasn't all that I thought it was going to be. And I moved the goalpost, and I'm on to better things. I tell you what, again, for those people that have a tremendous amount of drive, you will never be content. And it's a blessing and a curse, to never be content, because you continue to have that drive and the passion to always want to do bigger and better things. And it doesn't necessarily need to be monetary. It doesn't need to be materialistic, but you'll always have bigger aspirations and never be content of what you've accomplished or what you have. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope none of you become content with anything and drive for greatness, whatever you define that as. Have a fantastic new year, and hopefully we'll see you again next month.